This is a quick video for students who missed the in-class demonstration about how to get started on the class project. Uh, I'm recording this at full screen. I keep my screen at high resolution. You may not need to view it at full screen, but you might want to. It might make it easier for you. So we're at the Moodle site first. I'm going to log into Moodle. And here's my login. I've got all these classes in Moodle from having used it over the years. There are some new folders here, and I'm going to show two of them. The first one is student project from last year, and I would encourage you to look at this particular paper, Kate Coleman's paper from last year. Last year, students did optional projects, and so this is a next step for me as a teacher. So students would do required projects, and Kate did the most effort for this. So what I'm going to show you here first is her paper, just a little bit of it so you can get a sense as to the form of what the project should look like. I also want to note here that this says draft 3. She actually iterated quite a bit on her paper, and since this is taking a while to come up, I'm going to also click on the presentation so we can see that when it comes up. Let's look at the paper. So the first page is a title page with an abstract. She wrote about a paper, an economic research paper that I encourage you to write about, called Production Information Costs and Economic Organization. The authors of those papers are Alchin and Demsetz. Then here's the body of her paper, and this body is about 6 pages long, and 6 to 10 is what you want. You notice that paragraphs are single-spaced, line spacing between the paragraphs. That's the format that I would like to see. And then she has references at the end. So in her paper, because she was focusing on this paper, there's only one predecessor reference, which is Coase's paper. You can take a look at this for the style. This is not a bad style for doing a paper for your project that is based on an economic research paper published in an economic journal. So let me close this. And then note that she made a PowerPoint presentation afterwards, and that's the third step of your project, is to make such a PowerPoint presentation. You'll see there's actually music here that accompanies it. So it's in the style of the presentations I made the first semester. And let me just raise this. What she's actually done is chunked her paper that I just showed you and put little chunks in the notes area. And so the slide then can be viewed as the section heading for that chunk. And there's the label, which is the metering problem, and then there is the image choice. Let's lower this now. The image choice, which is supposed to create in the viewer some sense of what the metering problem is about. And so at the end of writing the paper, you will make a PowerPoint presentation of this sort. If you view the PowerPoint in slideshow mode, it takes about 2 minutes. If you view it where you're reading the notes, it takes as long as it takes to read the paper. Okay, so let's quit that. And let's go back to the course. I have downloaded several possible papers from economics journals that you might take a look at. There are 3 of them. This one, Fable of Fisher Body, Coase on Fisher Body, and Klein on Fisher Body, that are about General Motors' acquisition of Fisher Body and whether that was because of the holdup problem or not. There is a predecessor paper that you should probably read if you read any one of those, by Klein Crawford and Alchin, that gives the background on how economists think about the holdup problem. This Klein Crawford and Alchian paper is a very heavily cited paper. Then I've got papers in two different other areas. One of these is a paper called Competitive Advantage Through People, which is about Southwest Airlines and their use of staff development as a way to be super competitive in the airlines industry. So that's an interesting paper. And then I have a couple of papers on the economics of pro sports. Sports are an interesting issue, especially the professional variety, because the individual teams you can think of as organizations, but then you can also think of the league as organizations. And the league wants to maintain competitiveness and fan interest. The individual teams want to win and probably support the fans in their local city. So there's some tension between the league goals and the team goals, and I think that makes for an interesting organizational issue. So here are some papers. I also said in the class that you could be reading papers from elsewhere, and I gave Nobel Prize lectures as a possibility. There's one by Herbert Simon that people could do. There is another by Oliver Williamson that people could do. And one of the projects from last year, which was okay but not great, was on Oliver Williamson's Nobel Prize lecture. So there's some other possibilities. And there's still other econ papers you can find. If you want to look for them, go to Milgram and Roberts, look at the references for the chapters, and then you'll find references to econ papers that are probably pretty important in developing the stuff that we are studying. So there's one way of thinking about things, which is the economic research paper published in the Scholarly Journal. Let's go to a different way. And now here I'm on the class website, and I have made a tag called Class Projects. There are some posts in there, and I encourage you to look at all of these posts. The one I want to talk about here is this case place. And let's look at this particular case, GM acting strategically. You can find cases by searching in case place. You can probably find cases elsewhere. The question is the case relevant to the class? The related issue is, what do you have to do to construct such a case? Unlike what's actually published here, you don't just want to write a case. You want to tie it to things that we've studied. A proper paper will do this. Now, I've logged in already, so you can see the links to this paper. If you go to this site, you will not see the links. If there's a particular case you would like to see, you will have to actually ask me to download it for you. I'm going to just click on this so we can see the PDF, and hopefully it'll come in. And I think that downloaded, so let's take a look. And one of the things I want to note is the copyright warnings are very strong here. So if I give you this, I really do not want you to circulate this at all. And what I'm most giving you is the references that are in the footnotes in this paper. In some other papers there is a bibliographic section, but you can read the case for the references, and then you can start tracking down more references. So let's see if there's a few more here. Factors in the big three: market share erosion. So you can start tracking these things down and read that way. Let me finally go to how you track this stuff down. So I'm going to go back to that first reference, which is called Revving Up GM, and let's try that. I'm going to go to a new tab and go to the library site, and I'm going to click on articles, and I'm going to type Revving Up GM, and it looks like I did that search already before, so it remembered it for me. And let's see what we get. And there are 4 titles, so you might try here. you have to go through an authentication if you're not on campus. And there it is, and here's the full article in HTML, so you can read the piece. And I think this is 4 pages, so don't just read the first. The photos don't seem like they come through, but the whole article is here, and you can read all of it that way. So you can discover cases. I would hope that you will ask me, is that case appropriate, before you proceed too far, and do a paper that is a case rather than do a paper that's an economics study. Okay, so there we are. That's the little demonstration.